Today I am going to be speaking about a real life situation. Excuse me, my throat is a little funky. I'm going to be speaking about a real life situation, and I am going to title this, He Was There All Along. I'm going to be telling you about my Ancestry DNA project. I started in 2000, around the year 2000. And at that point, I really didn't know what I was doing. But I was looking for my father's line because I hadn't grown up with my father's side of the family. My mom took all of us to, we all moved to California in 1976 when I was 13. And so I didn't get a chance to grow up with my father's side of the family. So I started looking for that side, mainly because I wanted to know, why did I look the way that I look when everybody else in my family was dark-skinned, pretty dark-skinned people, some of them so dark, they purple, just that pretty skin, that black don't crack, I mean gorgeous, but I look like this. And so I was wondering, why do I look like this when everybody else in my family is, you know, dark? No doubt they love me, no doubt I belong, no doubt I was supposed to be there, but I wanted to know that part of me. So I began my search in 2000. Well, I told my big brother Kim, who my mom made sure was in my life. My dad supposedly has 23 children, so I knew my big brother and sister from his first wife, and then there was me and my brother Kevin, and then in about 1968, no, it was exactly 1968, my baby sister was born across the street. So I remember my mom telling me, get up, get dressed, I'm going to take you to see your baby sister. So I'm swinging in between my mom and dad, excited because I'm going to meet my baby sister. And I did indeed meet my baby sister, or who I thought was my baby sister at the time. So fast forward to 1976, we moved to California, we're growing up, 2000, I start my Ancestry DNA research, and I get back in contact with my big brother Kim, and he's now knowing that I'm finding family members. And so he says, sis, I need you to find our baby sister. I said, I already know what Tana is. He said, no, we have another one. I said, huh? He said, we have another one. I said, well, what's her name? He said, Kathy. I said, well, what else? He said, that's all I know. I said, well, what's her mom's name? He said, Velma. I said, well, what's her last name? That's all I know. I said, Kim, how am I supposed to find somebody when all you have is first names? That is going to take a miracle from God. So, we fast forward to 2016. A lot of family members and a lot of friends have been telling me, you need to take the Ancestry DNA. You're so deep into it, you need to take the Ancestry DNA test. I never wanted to take the Ancestry DNA test because I kind of got a little bit of a past. And so I was like, I'm not putting my DNA out there. Nope, I'm not gonna let it be easy for the police to find me. Absolutely not. So I wouldn't take the Ancestry DNA. What people kept telling me, you need to take it, you need to take it. One person bought me the DNA test, and I was like, I'm not about to do it. So something kept impressing on me. And in November 2016, I finally took the Ancestry DNA test. I know what happened. My cousin told me. She found me on Facebook, and she had taken it, and she found family members, and she proved to me that it worked. So I was excited. Now I'm going to take it because I just knew me and Tony were connected because I had found her family. And I was in communication with all her family, and I had put all her family together. Her ancestors were Comptons, my ancestors were Comptons. Surely we had somebody that linked us. So in November, I took the Ancestry DNA test, and I excitedly looked on Ancestry, and me and Tony were not a match. And I called her and I said, Tony, we're not a match. She said, that means we're not related. I said, you're mean. Yes, we are. We both have Comptons in the family. And so then people began to say, well, maybe it's because you guys are so far down, you know, 13th cousins removed, all that kind of stuff. I still don't understand it. So anyway, I'm still excitedly connecting to people, and the new year comes around, I'm excited, I'm learning people, we're all connected on Facebook, we got a Compton family page, and then in about March I look at my Ancestry DNA page and there's a name at the top, and I'm like, who is this? And so I look at it, but I'm still new learning about Ancestry. I don't know, how to really look at this thing, and I'm like, Kathy Kidd? Who is Kathy Kidd? The only kids in my family are my cousins whose last name are Kidd. And so I looked at it, but I didn't pay attention to it. Now, if I was real, I don't know what the word is, but if I was good with it, I would have known that her popping up at the top of my list meant something significant, but I didn't. So, actually on May the 7th, she messaged me on Ancestry. And she said, I don't want to scare you, but I think you're my sister. And she said, I never got a chance to meet my dad. All I know is his name is Herman. So I kind of looked at it and I read it and I was like, well, it is a possibility, but I don't know. So I didn't think about it because I was like really busy those first couple of days, but it kept playing in my head. So May the 9th, I was like, let me look on Facebook and see if this girl could really be my sister. So there's about 5 Kathy Kids on Facebook, so I'm looking, and I look at the first one, I'm like, ain't no way. So I look at the second one, and I'm like, strong possibility, but I highly doubt it. I look at the third one, and I went, oh my God, that's my face. So I got on Facebook, and I got on Messenger, and I just started uploading pictures. I didn't ask her no questions. I didn't say, are you the young lady that contacted me on Ancestry? I just started uploading pictures. The first picture was our birth father. So she said that day, she had never taken a break in her car, but she had decided that morning, oh, I'm gonna take a break in my car. My work is done, I really don't have very much to do, so she decided to go take a break in her car. She said she decided to look at her phone because, she was bored, so she looked at the phone and she's like, who in the world is this all in my messenger? Probably somebody sending these chain messages. Oh, I hate chain messages. Let me just get in here. She opened it up and she saw her dad's face. She said she began to cry because she never knew what he looked like. She said she never seen him, never met him. Her mom was adamant that he would never, ever be able to see her because, unfortunately, in that time that she was born, our dad was married to my mom, and her mom didn't find out until Kathy was 9 months old that she had had a baby by a married man. So she said her mom found out where we were living. She came over to the house to confront Dad. He wouldn't come outside the house, but she could see that he was in there, and she could see 2 little heads in the window, which had to be me and my brother Kevin, so she commenced to tearing up his car. I've always wondered where I got that from. I thought it was my mom, but they look so much alike. But anyway, I'm delivered. I don't tear up cars anymore. I don't get that angry anymore. I get angry and I sin. I follow the Bible. So anyway, this is on May 9th. So she starts communicating with me, and then she said, how is it that we're connecting with, at the time that it would be his 84th birthday? I'm like, whoa, I ain't got no answer for that, baby sis. So May 22nd, we finally talk on the phone. The whole entire time that we're communicating is through Messenger on Facebook. So May 22nd, we finally start communicating. We on the phone, and we on the phone for a long time, and we talking. And I'm trying to figure out, how did this happen? When did it happen? So we doing dates, and we doing, this and that and the other. And I said, well, you said your mom said that Dad would never, ever see you. He would never, ever get to spend time with you. But the timeline ain't figuring. It's not adding up to me, and my spirit is telling me something different. So she said, well, what do you mean? I said, well, it seems to me that he did get to spend some time with you. She said, my mom was adamant. He was never, ever, ever gonna see me. I said, well, what's your name? She said, Kathy. I said, what's your middle name? She said, Lenise. I said, how are you spelling Lenise? She said, Leniece. I said, oh, not only did he see you, baby girl, he named you. She said, why would you say that? I said, because you knew our dad as Herman. That's his middle name. Our dad's name is Leonard Compton. And one thing I know about our dad, he always made it a point to have his kids with a portion of his name in it. And so she kind of laughed. And I could tell that laugh was like she was happy. Her dad had seen her. Her dad had spent time with her. Her dad had held her. So we continue to talk, and she's like, wow. And I said, yeah. I said, we have a little brother, Lennie. I said, my brother Kevin, his name is Kevin Lynn. So I'm telling her about all the kids that we done found who's got dad's name. I said, she said, well, what's your name? I said, well, I don't have our dad's name. She said, why? I said, well, he was a creative drunk. She said, what? I said, well, he named me just like he named his other kids. I said, but my middle name is a little different. She said, well, what is your middle name? I said, well, let me explain it. See, according to my mom, my dad named me after the 3 things he loved most in this world at that time. His wife, Anne, his Seagram's Jen, and his sister, Nett, who passed away when I was a child. So my middle name is Ann Jeanette, and she just laughed and laughed and laughed. I said, that's the true story, I promise you. I'm named after Seagram's Gin. Our dad really did drink Seagram's Gin all day for I don't know how long. So we talk, and I give her that bit of information about her name, and she's overjoyed. I can tell she's overjoyed. But before we hang up, I said, you know what? Something keeps telling me he watched you grow. And she said, nope, my mom told me. When I finally got her to talk about him, she told me, nope, absolutely not. He could have told me he was married. He know I wouldn't have had nothing to do with him. No, my mom told me he had nothing to do with me. By this time, we are on Facebook asking Big Brother Kim, who had stayed with Dad, not lived with him, but he stayed in Chicago around Dad. So we firing questions. And so Kim said, that's the one I told you that I was looking for. I held her as an infant before I went into the military. And it was at that point when I remembered the conversation, and I said to him, it's going to take a miracle of God. Be careful what you say, because God worked that miracle through ancestry DNA. So me and Kathy still trying to figure this thing out about Dad. And I'm telling her, every time we talk, Kathy, he watched you grow. She's like, nope, I don't think so. So on Father's Day, she wakes up. And we all go to Facebook, because it's like, one's in Iowa, one's in Chicago, one's in Rockford, we're everywhere. So we go to Facebook to see who's posted what, because now we're trying to figure out this whole timeline. I've since figured out my brother Kevin, who was in the house with me, is 11 months younger than me. Our sister Deneen, who's not in the house, is 6 months younger than Kevin. My baby sister Tata, who was born across the street, is 5 years younger than me. Kathy was born 2 years after Tata, and then we got little brother Lennie. We don't know how many. So we're figuring out this whole timeline. And then on Father's Day, Kathy gets on Facebook and she says, Big Brother, did Dad ever drive a station wagon? And he said, that's all he ever drove. And I was like, man, you're right about that. A single man, always drinking, always going to the bars, driving a station wagon. That's all he ever drove, was a station wagon. So we on there saying, why did you ask? She said she had remembered an incident where she was young, probably, preteen or so, and this boy liked her. And so this particular day, this boy decided to walk her home from school, and he was carrying her books. And so they just walking along, and they laughing, and they, giggling, and they talking and everything. She said, and this old man in the station wagon comes up and says, hey boy, give me that gal. And she said the boy got mad. about the guy, I don't know what the boy said. She was like, he was so mad, I looked at him and said, what am I gonna do with that old man? She said, sis, I think you're right. I think he watched me grow. I said, it ain't no doubt in my mind. That's how he was. When your mama told him, you'll never see her, you'll never have nothing to do with her, you'll never be able, he's so defiant. One thing about our dad, one thing I know you got, one thing I know I got, all of us, we defiant. If you tell us we ain't gonna do something, we gonna do it. And so she said, big sis, I think you're right. I think he did watch me grow. I said, girl, please. I said, you might not have seen the station wagon, but that station wagon was always driving around you. That station wagon was always making sure that he was present, because I tell you another thing, when I called myself taking a little boy to meet my dad, he disappeared. I remember introducing them, but I never saw him after that. I said, so when he saw you walking with that boy, he was gonna let him know, there's somebody watching out for her. I said, so he watched you grow. So she, again, giggled, you know, that nervous little giggle. And she said, wow. He really was there all along. And so that's why I chose these scriptures. When God says, I will never leave you nor forsake you. We have a father, our natural father, even in his wrongdoing, had a child, and he knew he was wrong when he had that child. He couldn't watch over me because my mama got me out of Chicago. She brought us to California. But the child that he could watch over, even under the circumstances that she got here, I said, baby sis, it was indeed till death do you part. Our Father watched over you. And she was so happy about that. She said, man, she said, I just wish I could have met him just one time. I just wish I could have known him just one time. I said, you know, I understand, you know, he was there. I know for sure, at least up until I was 5, and, you know, a little bit more after we got into projects, because there were some incidents. I said, well, wow, isn't that amazing? He was there all along. Just like that incident, just like a natural father in his wrongdoing who could make sure that he watched over his child. We have a heavenly Father who's always there. He promised to never leave us. He promised to never forsake us. He is always there, even when we can't feel him, even when we're going through the worst of times, even when it seems, you know, nothing can you know, stop whatever is going on in our lives. Our Father is just looking for us to just reach out to him, because he promised, I'll never leave you nor forsake you. And he is a God that cannot lie. If we reach out to him, he's instant. We learned in Sunday school this morning, he's instant. He breaks down barriers. He breaks down strongholds. Anything that tries to cause us to separate from God, he doesn't allow it, because he never leaves us. He never forsakes us. He's always around us, even when we can't feel him. He will show us through a word, through a person, through an incident, through something. He sends a confirmation that he's there with us at all times. And so I just want you to be comforted today in knowing that just like a human father who did wrong and had a child, just like that human father who I believe never left her and never forsook her in life, and I believe in death. Now, how this whole, you know, thing, I'm still learning about, you know, when you die and, you know, when you're sleeping with the ancestors or you go straight to heaven, I'm still learning. But there is a spirit that's working with me and my baby sister to finally let her know, to finally answer her question, did my dad know me? And she got the confirmation. He knew you. He named you. He watched you. He was there. He would have sprung into action at a moment's notice if she was ever in danger, no doubt in my mind, because he did it for us. Just like that human father, your heavenly Father is always there, watching for you, waiting to bless you, waiting to answer. waiting for whatever your needs are. In Jesus' name. Turn you back into the hands of Dr. King.
And I did get it. Beautiful, wonderful. Hey.